put the sheet metal back on it. It takes an awful lot of time to fabricate these cars because you've got to adhere to all the templates on the race car that NASCAR requires you to have. But in the meanwhile, you spend a tremendous amount of money rebuilding a car after a big crash.
And thank you, Tim. We should also point out there were several cars collected in that late race incident in Gateway, and NASCAR Vice President of Competition Robin Pemberton was asked whether or not that factored in to their decision-making process when it came to penalties. Now, Pemberton said that brought the situation to light, but the penalties were more concentrated on the actions on the racetrack and the history between Keselowski and Edwards. Of course, the Keselowski-Edwards crash, not the only one of note in Gateway. We should also point out the Joe Gibbs Racing teammates Matt DiBenedetto and Brad Coleman also involved in a crash there as well. Both cars getting virtually destroyed, and the race car drivers absorbing much of the impact. A very hard collision. Matt DiBenedetto suffering most of it. Spent a lengthy time in the care center, fell to the grass, and afterwards, well, was very sore. But the good news is he is back tonight, ready to race the 20 car. Still ahead, no one's had more nationwide wins this year than Kyle Busch. After a week off, he's back. We'll talk with Kyle as he seeks his third ORP win. Jason Leffler pulled off the upset here in 2007. Can a nationwide-only driver win again? Hear what Leffler has to say about that very prospect. And with qualifying and practice this afternoon, it's already been a busy day. We'll show you who's fast and who still has some work to do. Afternoon at O'Reilly Raceway Park, and some surprise faces at the front of the field. This is one of them. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a very fast qualifying lap, just over 22 seconds, good enough to qualify third. A year ago, Stephen Wallace, perhaps his best race ever in the Nationwide Series, and he's picking up right where he left off. Strong qualifying effort. He will start second this evening. And for the second straight week, it's this guy on the pole, Trevor Bayne, a very fast lap for Diamond Waltrip Racing, his second pole of the season. He's with Shannon Spain.
Trevor Bayne has a third-place finish last week at Gateway and comes here and backs it up with a pole here at ORP. What is your confidence level right now, Trevor?
Well, it's pretty high, highest it's been all year. I mean, for the whole team, it just builds that morale, builds the chemistry, and it's easier to work when you're not under that pressure of can these guys do it? We know we can do it now. You know, we just got to keep these runs going, keep that momentum flowing, and see what we can do here tonight. I mean, our car was really strong on the short run and qualifying, which was kind of unexpected because we worked on long runs all day long. But to have 2 poles here at Indy and 2 starts, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
You had a third-place finish last week, and you led some laps. What did you learn about racing up front with some of the leaders?
Well, it's a great feeling just to be up front again. You know, to 10 to go, we were leading the race. I'm like, man, this feels awesome. You know, it's back to the old days of being up front again, and it just builds that confidence like you were talking about, and it's just a great feeling. And now we know what it feels like to lead those races, and once you start running these top 3s, it just gradually snowballs into, you know, maybe a win or just continue these top 3s, and we're putting ourselves in position to have that first win. You know, we keep running up there, situations happen, and we'll be all right.
Trevor Bayne will lead the field to green here at ORP. Mike?
And thank you, Shannon. There are several former winners in tonight's field, including Ron Hornaday, who won here in 2000. Jason Leffler gave Toyota its first Nationwide Series win when he won here in 2007. Kyle Busch, he's won here twice, including a dominating performance in 2008. And last year, it was Carl Edwards who picked up the victory. He's also won here previously in the Truck Series. The list of past winners in tonight's field is rather lengthy. It also includes Morgan Shepherd, who has 3 wins here, including the very first back in 1982. 2-time O'Reilly Raceway Park winner Jason Keller is also in the field, as are Joe Nemechek and Mike Wallace. And joining me now is the guy who pulled off the upset back in 2007, that being in Jason Leffler. And Jason, it's not very often that a Nationwide Series regular is able to beat these Cup Series regulars when they come down here. What's it like competing against those guys at a place like this?
Well, it's tough everywhere we go. I mean, just trying to keep up with the laps they get, trying to keep up with the teams they drive for. I mean, they drive for, you know, we got Penske and Hendrick affiliated cars and Roush and RCR. So that part of it's tough too. But Braun Racing does a great job, and we just keep going, you know. But it's tough. I won't lie about it. But I enjoy it. I mean, you're only as good as who you race around. So when the best come down here to race, you step your game up. It
appears tonight is one of those opportunities. How would you assess your chances of getting it done again?
Well, if everything works out, falls our way, we'll, you know, the Great Clips Camry is pretty good. We got a new Pro motor in tonight, and it's making a lot of power. And I think my car's pretty good. I think the cloud cover is going to help us here, and we'll have to wait and see. But we got to keep the fenders on it, have good pit stops like we have every week, and get rid of these mechanical failures we've been having lately. So if we can do that, we'll have a good night.
Well, good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Jason Leffler trying to buck the odds, the only Nationwide regular who has won this year. Justin Allgaier, who went to victory lane at Bristol back in the spring. Here's a list of the double-duty drivers, 7 of them in tonight's field. Paul Menard, the highest qualifier here. Had a little trouble over at the Brickyard, though, qualifying 26th. Brad Keselowski qualified 8th here and 11th over at the Brickyard. A solid effort overall. And, well, Kyle Busch, a lot of people believe he's the guy to beat. He starts 5th tonight. He's with Rick DeBrule.
And Kyle Busch, let's talk about how hard is it to go from racing at the Brickyard to here, 2 totally different tracks.
It's actually not that bad, because at least you get a sense of knowing that you're at totally different tracks, so you have to think about it completely different. And it's not just 2 different cars at one racetrack that you have to think about. It's just you can throw everything away that you come over here with from over there. So it's fun. You know, I enjoy it, and hopefully our Camry's really fast tonight and we can keep it up front and take our new sponsor with us to victory lane. And if anybody wants to get some new GPS deals, it's a pretty neat deal to look at, and just go ahead and check out their website, and hopefully everything can go our way tonight and we can end up with GPS and victory lane.
All right, now let's talk about the fact that you didn't get any real practice laps. You just showed up for qualifying. How's the car?
Well, we qualified 5th. It's okay. It was real awkward to drive it the first few laps, just the qualifying laps that I had. And, you know, I'd have to get used to it a little bit and fine-tune my driving style to the car and just kind of pick and choose our battles and keep it up front.
All right. Kyle Busch, one of the double-duty drivers out here tonight. Mike?
And thank you, Rick. Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski appear to be in a 2-man race for this year's championship. But is this the last year we see a Cup regular contend for the nationwide title? According to a report on SI.com, teams were recently told that changes were on the way to assure that a Cup regular could not win the Nationwide Series championship in the future. Here's what NASCAR spokesperson Ramsey Poston had to say about the situation. Poston said, "Things are squarely in discussion right now. We can't say there is even a set of plans that are specifically being debated. The discussion is whether there can be a set of plans to find a way to better promote the full-time NASCAR Nationwide Series drivers. We're still in the feedback phase and are talking with teams to get their input." And of course, ESPN NASCAR analyst Rusty Wallace is also a Nationwide Series owner. And Rusty, a lot of people wondering, what are your thoughts on this?
For sure, Mike. I believe in 2011 it's going to be the largest change that the Nationwide Series has ever seen. You've got the new car. Now there's a lot of talk about restructuring the point system to make sure that a nationwide regular can win this championship, that they don't have to compete so hard against the Cup regulars. They'll probably do something with the points. I believe there'll be something coming in the testing section also. But above all, a lot of changes for 2011 in Nationwide Series. And from what I hear, it's all good things, Mike.
Well, thank you, Rusty. We'll have to pay close attention to that. It's certainly a big development in the Nationwide Series. Plenty of motorsports action coming up on the ESPN family of networks. Tomorrow, it's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Brickyard 400, presented by Golden Corral at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Coverage starts with NASCAR Countdown at noon. Sunday night at 7 Eastern, it's the Mopar Mile High NHRA Nationals on ESPN2. Then next Saturday, the Nationwide Series is back at it in Iowa, 7 Eastern, also on ESPN2. The energy starting to build here at the O'Reilly Raceway Park. We're getting ready for green flag action when we come back. Stay tuned.
Back at O'Reilly Raceway Park in Indianapolis for the NASCAR Nationwide Series race tonight. It's a hot one, 90 degrees, a steady wind, 15 to 20 miles per hour. You see the track temperature, and there at the bottom, that's the one we're really paying attention to, an 80% chance of rain. So NASCAR has pushed up the start of tonight's race because of that inclement weather. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that we can get this thing in tonight. 200 laps on a short track. 6.86 miles around this. I mean, we're talking about a short track, less than 7/10. But how about pushing up the start of the race, Rusty? Is that something you got to deal with as a driver at any time it happens to pop up?
Oh, as a driver, you want to get going, man. You want to light the wick and get this baby going. I mean, you don't want to sit there and go through all these pre-race ceremonies. You want to go racing right now. For the driver's aspect, hey, they're ready, no problem.
But this could change the strategy, folks. The fact is that they're going into this, typically a 200-lap race. Now they're wondering about weather. It changes the mentality of the crew chief, maybe a little bit of the driver.
See some of the big stories there as we saw Brad Keselowski. He, of course, the points leader. Carl Edwards, second in points. Big debate this week about their incident last week at Gateway. Stephen Wallace, second quickest in qualifying. And Trevor Bayne on the pole for the start. Let's go trackside for our pre-race ceremonies.